Welcome to the Jewelry District, a podcast by JCK, brought to you by De Beers. Today, Rob Bates and Victoria Gamelski talk to Doug Meadows, founder of David Douglas Diamonds and Jewelry.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Jewelry District. This is Victoria Gamelski, editor-in-chief of JCK and jckonline.com, calling in from Los Angeles, and I'm with
Rob Bates, co-host of the podcast, calling in from New York City. How you doing?
Doing good. It's just the week after July 4th. Always feels a little quiet. Had a good holiday. We celebrated my mom's 80th birthday.
Oh, very nice.
Which is
very
great.
Lovely.
She's doing well, and we're throwing her a huge party on Saturday. So I went out and dropped $500 on booze.
Oh my, geez, wow!
I know.
How many people are coming? If it's just like 4 or 5 people, that's a little.
That would be scary. About 50 people.
Yeah, 50 people. Okay,
yes.
I guess that's fair. I guess that's fine.
I figure booze doesn't go bad. It doesn't spoil. So
No.
There's no shame in having extra.
And young people are they're not drinking, they say, anymore. So you're helping out the industry. There
Yes.
You go. These crazy 80th birthday parties, these wild
these wild elders here.
I'm about to go a couple of days to Singapore.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
great.
for the World Diamond Congress. So I will report on that when I return.
And you've been, right? You've been to
No,
Singapore?
I have never been.
Oh, you have to find the $2. Probably not $2 anymore, but there's a Michelin-starred Hainan chicken cart somewhere it was in one of the malls. It's like the best food ever, chicken and rice, delicious, and it was about $2.50 last time I was there. So
wow, cool. All right,
yeah.
cool.
Amazing. Well, we'll catch up with you about Singapore, hopefully on one of the next podcasts. But for this podcast, I would like to tee up our guest. He's somebody I met because he was on a panel I moderated at JCK Las Vegas this year, and I was really taken by some of his comments. I thought he had some great insights. And then I asked him to do an interview for one of the special ports I write for JCK on natural diamonds. So if anybody caught that, you're going to be a little familiar with what we talk about. Our guest, of course, is Doug Meadows. He's founder of David Douglas Diamonds and Jewelry in Marietta, Georgia. And he's joining us from what looks to be like the back room, maybe. Hi, Doug. Welcome.
Hi. Good to be here.
It's great to have you. You were, like I said, we had this conversation, and while the piece I wrote up on after that conversation ran in June in our Natural Diamonds special report, all the other things you told me about how you really got started in the jewelry industry and got to Georgia and really built it from the ground up, I just thought was full of you had so many great tips and just great anecdotes that I thought our listeners and viewers would love to hear them. So we always start out with a very introductory question. Tell us about where you're from and how did you get into jewelry?
Well, currently I live in Marietta, Georgia. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. My grandfather started us in 1926 up there. He had a trade shop, and my dad and uncle took that over in the late 50s, early 60s. And then I apprenticed in the 70s up there. And then I kind of branched out while I was up there. I went and worked with one of my brothers in a retail store in one of the major malls, and I got introduced to the retail side of the industry. And so I've always called myself a third generation jeweler, but a first generation retailer. And I got into a fun partnership with a buddy of mine, and we accidentally bought a jewelry store in one of the major malls, and it was just out of survival that we did it. We begged, borrowed, and stole from all of our friends and family. And it worked for about 2 years, and then we successfully ran that into bankruptcy.
And this was in already, you by this point had moved to Atlanta, correct?
Yeah, when I was in Atlanta.
And this is the 80s, right?
Yep. And then in the middle 80s, after me and my old partner finally just called it quits, I was trying to find a job, really. And I was just talking to my brother, and we came up with an idea of him moving out down here, and we created our David Douglas. We took Dave's first name and my first name, Doug, and put them together and got the David Douglas diamonds. And we did that for a couple of years. But that's when our competition approached us um, and wanted us to join them. And so we went in with them for the next 17 years. We were with them. While we were there, we bought a pawn shop in the next town. We bought a jewelry store in another town. We bought a car wash behind the store we were in. And but kind of fast forwarding now, me and my brother split up the business. He kept one store in Woodstock, and I kept the Marietta store. He had his daughter and son-in-law took over his company, and currently I'm working with my son, preparing someday in the future. I don't know. I'm in no hurry to have him take over the company.
I think, Doug, I'm struck by, and I'm going back now to the 80s when you're still sort of finding your footing, how many different things you tried. I mean, you started out really as a trade jeweler, not as a retailer, to your point
Right.
about sort
Yeah.
of being a first generation retailer. What was that transition difficult? Like, what did
Yes.
you yeah,
It
yes.
was very difficult because I mean I didn't understand profit and loss. I knew how to make money with my fingers and my hands, but I didn't understand how to run a business at all. And I mean, thankfully, I had people that helped me and supported me and taught me and trained me. And I just started looking for help and asking everybody I could to teach me how to run a business. I had a aunt and uncle down in Florida. They had a jewelry business down there.
So when, like, I guess, when did you find your footing as a retailer in the Atlanta or in Georgia? Like,
I
what
mean,
was that moment?
if I could have stayed in one place long enough, I think I'd be doing a lot better than I am today. I felt like I was a gypsy a little bit. I mean, I started out in Cumberland Mall. We were there for a couple of years, and we combination of losing our lease, then we had to move into Vinings, and then we just it was a bad relationship between my partner and me, and we just slipped into bankruptcy, and then
Mm,
getting together with my brother, we started out in a store for a couple of years, and then had an opportunity to go do a lease department inside of another retailer. And so we did that. So, in a roundabout way, I talk about being a third generation jeweler, but a first generation retailer. I was kind of slow to get to that point. I mean, I just always hit my safety zone of being a trade shop, even though it was in a retail setting. Trying to figure out how to get out of that relationship. We finally got out of it, and then we were forced into some freestanding, or not freestanding, but a retail jewelry store in a shopping center. And me and my brother, we were just I don't know. We liked to think we were entrepreneurs, but we just always probably overbought and overstretched ourselves all the time.
right.
We both had, I had 5 kids. He had, you know, 8 kids or so, and so you're
Wow.
trying to keep them all fed and stuff. But they were great free labor too, coming up.
I'm sure. Yeah.
5 years old, cleaning the cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
Got to teach them those life skills.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, for sure. And
Uh,
when you and I had talked back in June, you'd mentioned kind of a funny experience, and I'm not sure where this is in the timeline, that you had with a jeweler that sounded pretty wild, Kaminsky.
yeah, Kaminsky's. Yep.
What was that like? Because you talked about some lessons you learned that felt like, even though the environment felt a bit chaotic, you'd really
Yeah.
taken some lessons from that. Tell us about that experience.
So Kaminsky Jewelers was the best way to describe it is a circus. Um, Ed and Carol were very flamboyant. Ed did TV commercials dressed in a tutu. He had a slogan: "If you want ski, good price ski, come in and see Kaminsky." And he was all price, 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 and big price tags on all the jewelry. And he had like chain rolls just laid out on a sheet of plywood. He had plywood floors. It was just an old house. But, some of the things that he taught me is to take care of your customer. Even though he sold cheap junk, if they had trouble with it, he'd get it fixed. He'd get them taken care of. But the other thing they taught me, they trusted everybody. And sadly, people took advantage of them. They had a bookkeeper that stopped paying their sales tax and pocketing the cash,
Mm.
and they ended up, having litigations over that. They were both characters. I just, I don't know. He had a big shotgun by his desk. He had a big baseball bat by his desk.
Oh my
So it was just a totally different experience. But it was a volume store. We had so much service work to do there. I had, oh my
God.
goodness, I had, what did I have? Probably 10 different jewelers at that time. And
Wow.
all we were doing were recasting customers' old gold. And we just had a ton of waxes back in the day. And, we could say he would let us sell anything we wanted to down there other than diamonds. So colored stones were wide open,
Huh.
watches were wide open. So we began to getting introduced to retail. And so I don't know, it just was just a totally different experience. I loved the way he was just so flamboyant. He had the guts to just go do it.
Well, so after Kaminsky, is this when you really invested in your very own retail space? And
Yeah.
yeah, and so was this? Are we still in the '80s or is this the '90s by now?
This is probably the early 2000s
Oh, okay.
because we were with Kaminsky's for like 17 years. And, got to a point where I was just trying to figure out how to get out of there.
Yeah.
Um, and because I figured, if I left and I opened up across the street, I would be a dirtbag. And, and so they asked me to leave. I actually came back from a trip from Fiji, and they pulled me into their office and said, we want you and Dave to leave. And we're like, I think they thought I was going to be really upset, and I was jumping up and down with joy on the inside because that season in my life was done. I was ready to get out of there. Because one of the things I started looking at is, okay, me and my brother that had been there for 15, 16 years. Is there an opportunity to buy this business from them at some point in time? And that's part of the reason I bought the car wash right next to the jewelry store. But after having some conversations with them, we realized that was a dead end, and that's when it was time for me to, go do something else.
And so was there something else, the store that you have now, or was it?
Well, when they told me I had to leave, then I didn't feel bad about opening up across the street from them.
No, that's what you,
So I literally opened up a jewelry store across the street from them,
In
and
Marietta. Is this all
in
this?
Marietta, yeah, had that location for about 6 years. During that time, we still had the jewelry store in Woodstock and the pawn shop in Woodstock. We'd sold the car wash. And then my brother had the wisdom to say, it was never fun dealing with cousins and uncles when we were growing up in the business. Let's not put our kids through this. He said, I'll keep the Woodstock store and you can keep the Marietta store. And
Hmm.
I said, okay. And so it was it was hard to do it just because I really enjoyed working with my brother, but it was a lot of wisdom to
Hmm.
make that separation while things weren't too crazy. I finished out a few more years in that same location, and then been down at this my current location. I've been here since 2010, so I've been here 16 years now.
And who how would you describe your clientele? Like, are they, is it, do you have a lot of self-purchasers or primarily you do a lot of,
Right.
you do diamonds, so is it a lot of
Yeah.
locals?
Over the years, I decided that I needed to focus in on something. When we worked at Kaminsky's, his motto for us is we fix anything except broken hearts and Timex watches. And me and my brother, we just wanted to be able to never say no to anybody or do it all or do anything. And as I got a little older and felt like I got a little more wisdom, I learned that you gotta specialize a little bit and have a focus because I wasn't focused at all. I was all over the place, and so I decided that I wanted to pick bridal anniversary gifts and the self-purchasing woman. And part of that actually came from IJO. I had joined IJO about 20 years ago and absorbed all their teachings and trainings and classes that they had to offer. They have great education and great help to grow your company and grow your business. And once I made that focus, It just, you spend enough time on the product and enough space on the product. That's what you'll get known for, and that's what you grow into.
This podcast is brought to you by De Beers. It's not every day a bridal offering reflects love the way desert diamonds do. Both are completely natural. Both take time to form. And no two are ever alike. That's what makes these rings mean so much more. From sunlit whites to golden hour champagnes and sunrise blushes. Colors as natural as love itself. This year, introduce your bridal clients to Desert Diamonds. A diamond is forever. Visit adiamondisforever.com to learn more.
Again, back to when we spoke last month, what struck me was, especially as you were really getting your footing, sounds like in the early 2000s, you had gone to JCK, Las Vegas, and
Yep.
you ended up meeting a bunch of people, and you told me a little bit about how, and then you were bold enough to ask these other retailers if you could do store visits. Can you tell us about that? Because I think a lot of people, as we've talked about before we started taping, are shy about that kind of stuff. But for you, it seems like it's really helped. Tell us about, I guess, how you got up the chutzpah to reach out to other retailers and just sort of straight out ask them what they were doing well.
I don't know why I've been so bold about that. I just is just kind of come natural. I'm just curious by nature. I can remember, when I was a teenager and I went to visit one of my cousins, um, and I'm always curious, how much do you make? I mean, it wasn't a judgmental question, but it's almost like taboo. Like you can't ask those kinds of questions,
Still.
So I've been one of those kids that just ask you a question. I'll be just straight out, and again, it's not a judgmental question. It's just I'm curious. I would tear things apart as a kid just to see how it worked, and um, and so when it comes to business, I guess I just looked at it the same way. It's like, okay, you're doing really well. You're doing something I'm not doing. Can I learn that in a day or two, or is it going to take a lifetime to learn it? But I figured it doesn't hurt to ask. Let me just ask him. And so there was a gentleman up in Ottawa, Canada, Brent Harden, and I just asked him, hey, can I come up for a store visit? And he goes, sure. And you know, fast forwarding all these years, I mean, Brent has got one of the biggest hearts in the industry that I've ever met. He is so giving and so knowledgeable. He just wants to see everybody do well. But he took me in, put me up, and we had a great time. He taught me a ton of stuff. By the time I left, he had helped me develop a little workbook with my 16 steps to success that I still cherish today. And as I reflect back on all the different topics, I'm just blown away at. They're now a part of my DNA. I mean, it's just they just ooze out of me. It's just what I do. But I got that guidance to start with Brent. So.
And what were some of the steps to success? Anything that you kind of go over?
Yeah, he's one of the first ones. He says you got to have some goals. Both for your personal life and for your business, and break it down into 2, 5, 10 years. He said you want to have a dream store vision. What do you really want your store to look like in 5 years? And then start backing it out and figuring out what steps you got to do to get there. We had, just looking at the fundamental things like store sales, your expenses, your profitability, your gross margin, um, and then taking care of your staff. He called it partner benefits plan. How are you going to take care of your staff? How are you going to pay them? Insurance, things like that. Coming up with an organizational chart. I think that was the first time I'd ever heard that word. It's like, what is that? you know, I mean, things that are so basic when it comes to business, but it was like I didn't get any education. My dad didn't teach me any of this kind of stuff. My dad taught me how to make jewelry and fix jewelry. He didn't teach me how to run a business, or how to handle money. And Brent had a beautiful selling system that I just adored, and took a bunch of pictures of that. But the list goes on. I mean, just so many different things, and he just kind of hit every highlight of a business that it needs to have to be successful.
When we spoke again, we lingered on diamonds because I was working on a diamond special report. Tell us about, I guess, how your diamond business has evolved and what it is like today.
One of the things Brent gave me was a plan on a diamond business. You know, what sizes to have, how many to have of them, and how to grow into that. And then I had a few other jeweler friends that kind of schooled me on how to get a memo, um, like a long-term memo of some diamonds in your store. And we had a diamond dealer here in town that I became really good friends with and partnered with him. And he, gave me a long-term memo. And anytime I needed anything, he would get it for me. And so, because that was my dream, was to be able to sell and or sell diamonds. And every time you kind of broke that next threshold of whether it was by size or by price, it would always get your adrenaline going, get you all excited. And then just watching the faces of the women that received these things, and I don't know, it became very emotional. And then you started learning about the stories behind all these things, and that's when you really kind of make that transitional shift between, this isn't just cold metal and hard rocks. It's, we're commemorating something, we're celebrating something, and it's a story, and it's generational, and different things like that. And so when lab growns first came out, I remember getting my first one from Stellar just to look at it. I just got it in a memo and looked at it, and I'm like, I was scared to death. I mean, I'm like, oh my goodness, I this is the end of our industry,
Yeah.
and but then I don't know, we just assumed everybody would come in asking for it that wanted it. And so we treated it like that redhead stepchild, and put it underneath the counter and had a few things to show them if they did ask, but they never asked. And so then we slowly brought it out, because I was seeing some of my other friends having some really good success with it. And we just kind of grew into it. And then we came up with this idea of the lab grown diamond challenge, to where we set up 4 solitaires, one with a lab grown, one with a natural, one with a CZ, and one with a moissanite. And just, decided that, I mean, this whole time, we got both sides are almost like fighting each other. We're eco-friendly, or we're this, or we're that. And, after going around the world and visiting all these different things, I realized, no, we're all, there's a cost to all of this, no matter whether it's real or fake, or whatever you want to call it. But I just, wanted to give them a choice. That was my big thing, is, can I give you enough information without boring you to death, that you would have enough information to make a choice, and then you decide what you want. And so that's what we kind of did. That's the direction we had. But now, you kind of fast forward a few more years, and they're basically coming in just saying, telling you they want a lab grown diamond. So we have shifted to our diamond sales, as far as like for engagement rings and loose, 80% of it being lab grown, and about 20% of it being natural.
Hmm.
The fashion is still natural diamonds. We're not jumping that far. I mean, we'll do core stuff like diamond studs or line bracelets or things like that, but it just almost isn't worth it to do the lab grown on the fashion jewelry.
Well, you certainly know a lot about the diamond business from an interesting perspective, because you've traveled quite a bit. Do you want to tell
Yeah.
us a little bit? Was it about a decade ago when you was Antwerp your first big kind of diamond trip?
Yeah, so being in IJO, they do these Antwerp trips, and I was scared to death, but I just went for it, and
It's a beautiful city.
oh my goodness, I love it now.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, incredible.
I love going there, and but then then I got invited to India to Mumbai for a diamond event there, and I'm like, why are they asking me? I mean, I'm not a big buyer, but I'm like, fine, if you want to pay my way and put me up and take care of me and wine and dine me. And but what I really enjoyed was all the other buyers there that I met. But I think the one thing I have enjoyed about Antwerp is just the selection. if I want a 1 carat or 2 carat round or whatever, I'm not just looking at two or three of them. I'm looking at hundreds of them.
Yeah. And did you enjoy India?
So I went to Mumbai and did that. I didn't really buy anything. Well, I did buy something there. I had a customer wanted some 5 carat total weight diamond studs. So I went down to the Bourse and handpicked a couple of matching stones for that. But then that opened up to an opportunity to go to Jaipur for the Gem Show event. And
Wow.
then that opened up to an opportunity to go. I got a personal invitation from one of a manufacturer in Jaipur to come spend a week with him and his family. I'm like, you don't even know me. We just met 30
Yeah,
minutes ago, and you're inviting me to your
that's what
house.
they do over there. It's
I
common.
know, and I'm like,
It's
all right.
wow.
I took him up on the offer, and I just went out there, spent a week for him, and I mean, I got engrossed in the culture, got to, try every kind of food you can imagine.
Love it.
Took me visiting different parts of India that I would have never been able to go see without somebody like that.
Yeah.
And then, got tours of the big diamond companies, both natural and lab grown. It's been interesting to see the lab grown diamond growing process. It's been interesting to see the natural diamond manufacturing process. Um, and the jewelry manufacturing. We went to Seeps and visited one of the manufacturers there, and I mean, I'm there for like 5 minutes watching these jewelers work, and they've already taught me 10 new tricks.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're good.
That's
they are.
Well, speaking of, you mentioned rap before. You went on Martin Rappaport's trip to Sierra Leone. I think what was
Yes.
that? You just a couple months ago, right? Or
Yeah. Yeah. It was
yeah.
back
So
in
I went
March.
I went on that in as I was mentioning, and actually one of his three of his sons actually were on that trip. But
Wow.
and it was also kind of a weird mishmash of people in like
Yeah.
2006. Um, and it really, I mean, it's an incredible experience. It's
Yeah.
you want to tell us a little bit about your experience?
I've always been intrigued with fair trade gemstones. Columbia Gem House, Eric, all the stuff that he's put into fair trade and stuff has really intrigued me. And then getting this opportunity to go to Sierra Leone, just to be able to see the process, where do these things come from and things. And so um, it was a very, it was kind of like the Wizard of Oz, where you got to see behind the curtain. And some of it you enjoyed seeing, and other things you were like, I wished I didn't know that. And but it's life, and um, but it was very. I felt very safe doing the trip. There was no repercussions from it. I I make friends too easily, and so now my driver that was driving us from Sierra Leone is a WhatsApp chat friend now. So
Cool.
we
I love it.
constantly talk back and forth.
Yeah, and you said you saw the whole De Beers setup, which is also
Yes.
that was way after my time. The Gem Fair.
Yeah. Right.
Um, some people, and that was one of the things that when I was there with Rappaport, he was talking about is like selling them as fair trade diamonds, as development
Hmm.
diamonds. Given how they're mined in Sierra Leone in particular. I mean, do you think that's a sellable story to your customers, or do you think that's something that
I think they're doing a decent job with it, because then it falls into their tracer diamond program, to where you can trace it back to that region. I mean, with anything, any scam can be done, or any unscrupulous acts can happen. But they're trying to do the best they can on both sides of the fence. They're trying to help out the villages and the miners, and help out the economy, the community, and they still have to make a profit doing it. So
but do you think it's like sellable on a retail level for consumers or
no, yes and no. There's a small percentage of a consumer that cares about that much detail, but I think for the most part, they because I've tried selling fair trade gemstones, Canadian diamonds, all the different things that you can do, and try to share the story with them, and they just kind of glaze over for the most part. Occasionally, they really get engaged and get excited, and it just really helps them finish out the purchase. But when that kid first comes in, he's got a problem. He's in love, and he needs a diamond to go home with, and he's got a wad of cash in his pocket, so
Yeah.
that's all he's thinking about at the moment. He's clueless about what's going on in the world.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Doug, so much. We're
Thank
out
you.
of
Yes.
time, but I think there's so many rich takeaways from what you've done and how you've built your business. Congratulations, and I can't
Thank
wait to
you.
hear about your next trip.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Jewelry District. I'm Natalie Comet, the producer of the podcast. Our editor is Riley McCaskill. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you may listen. Any views expressed in this podcast do not reflect the opinion of JCK, its management, or its advertisers. Thanks for listening. We hope you join us next time on The Jewelry District by JCK.